22-year-old construction worker Patrick Walentine is suing fellow partygoer, security officer Ed Tomaselli, for dental bills as a result of being punched in the mouth. Ed claims Patrick was the aggressor.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Walentine versus Tomaselli. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Walentine, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a party, causing you physical injury. You had substantial dental bills. You still have some work that has to be done. You want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Trill.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Walentine?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going
3rd.
to get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Walentine. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. The only one that has a good time here is me. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going-away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Walentine?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli?
I did not know.
All right, so give me your version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr. Walentine, could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes. Finished, continuing going into the hallway where Ed was standing. She said, "Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ." "Hi, Ed." And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could call.
How do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I had gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the party?
I had taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triolo was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. "Would you like to go?" I said, "Sure." We're going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we? Listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got...
I'm just interested in how you got this. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusively or just off and on?
Off and on.
All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd. You had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink. So I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when...
Mr. Walentine came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, "That's messed up," because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber, so I walked away. When I was walking away, Mr. Walentine came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, "What's up, dog?" Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched. He reached out to me. Through my experience...
How did you see that, sir, if you were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway. There was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Wallenstein was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "What's up, dog?"
How did he put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, "I'm not your dog." And yes, I did hit him. Through my experience and expertise, I know when someone comes up behind you and says, "What's up, dog?" he has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber. Front and center. You and Mrs. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car?
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did
Yeah,
you go in
I
your own
drove.
car or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there?
Yes.
Why do I feel as if I'm telling the story by myself? These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" You know, I gave him a hug, told him hi. And I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face.
Why would he do that?
Jealousy?
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
He was clearly angry because he said, "Hey, that's messed up." Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, would you like me to tell
I
my story?
would.
Okay. Like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
So...
with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. "What's up, dog?" Ed said, "I'm not your dog."
Well, you just did something. You said, "What's up, dog?" And then you did something like extend your hand.
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean, Kyle?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself, Mr. Tomaselli, right?
Yes,
it's all
Your Honor.
about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up behind you, spin you around, and punch you. He came up, put his hand on you, and said to you, "What's up, dog?" Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older. than Officer Byrd's children. Do you know what "what's up, dog" means? What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. What's up, dog? It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Oh, you're just a big doughboy. He's, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a bad guy. Let me see your dental bills, Mr. Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
You're right.
that
I
had
know.
to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You need an implant there?
I still need to get my implant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patrick Wallentin says fellow partygoer Ed Tomaselli punched him in the mouth. Ed says Patrick was too friendly with his date.
What do you do for a living?
I do a lot of things, but right now,
What you just said, what's your favorite thing?
my favorite?
Yeah. You do a lot of things, though. Tell me what your favorite,
My
what your
favorite
fave is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do have a painting business and a construction business that I work for. So but I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli.
Yes, Your Honor.
Harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right? He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ed didn't tell the truth. I did not touch him.
It was a tombstone, flying ruckus, left.
I fell back, and that's all, and I walked out.
Went down like everybody.
Maybe he's been choked a couple times, can't really remember it quite straight.
When they step up to the plate, like Hank Aaron, they just knock him out of the park.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Soyak versus Holloway. Step forward, please.
Limousine driver James Soyak is suing former client, business owner Tim Holloway, for an unpaid hotel bill. James says Tim is a scammer.
Mr. Holloway, how old are you, sir?
33.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I have a maintenance company.
How long have you had it?
My dad had it since '59. I took it over about 3 years ago.
He's no longer involved in the business.
Sometimes, yeah.
So he still goes into the office?
Correct.
On a daily basis?
2 or 3 times a week.
Are you making this up as we're going along, sir?
No.
Are you trying to give me accurate answers? Because you never can tell why I'm asking you these questions.
Correct.
Now, do you live alone or do you live with someone else?
I live with my fiance.
Did you move into her place or did you move in someplace together?
Together.
When?
2 years ago.
What's the address?
North Wilson.
How large an apartment is it?
It's a condo. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Are you renting or did you buy it?
We're renting that.
Are you both on the lease?
Yes.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, Mr. Soyak, you drive a limousine.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you drove Mr. Holloway in your limousine to a casino, hotel.
Yes.
And he told you that he'd forgotten his wallet and he needed a hotel room. So you agreed to put the hotel room on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not true.
He used the room and then stiffed you for the reimbursement.
I rented 2 rooms for him, $99 each.
In addition, he didn't have his wallet, so he said he needed some money. You gave him cash. He gave you a check.
Yes, ma'am.
For $300. The check bounced.
Yes.
That's not true.
What's not true, sir?
The room. Now the check.
Let's talk about the check.
Okay.
Let me hear.
I gave him a check Me and my fiance was having problems at the house. I couldn't get to what I need to get to the bank. I owe him for the $300, but the hotel room, it never happened.
Okay. Now, Mr. Holloway, your last paragraph of your answer, which you swore to, sir, says, I did give him a check for $300, which was returned. I explained that I had just moved and was having problems with my bank account.
I did just move.
No, just a second. I explained that I had just moved.
Same thing I just said.
No, that's not. Mr. Holloway, let me understand something, sir. No more than 5 minutes ago, I said to you, where do you live? You gave me the address. Who do you live with? I live with my fiancé. How long have you lived there in the condo? 2 years. Did you sign a lease? Yes.
That's what I said. But I just moved. If we was having problems, evidently, I had to leave because we was having problems. So I did leave. Now, when we reconciled, that's one thing. But I did leave. So what I told you is the truth.
Can I see the bills for the 2 rooms, please? Mr. Soyak, how long have you been driving a limousine?
10 years.
Okay. You ever had this kind of trouble?
Never.
Mr. Soyak, let me explain something to you. Don't be an idiot. You don't take out your credit card, allow somebody to put money on your credit card. You don't take checks from people you don't know.
You're absolutely right.
Good. Can I have it, please? The rooms you rented for $99, but he certainly did a lot more damage than the $99.
He drank everything in the bar. Plus movies, plus phone calls.
I never went in the room.
Okay. You owe him a whole bunch of money, sir. You owe him for these 2 hotel rooms. Who else was with you? Who else was with him, Mr. Soyak?
He found a couple of young gentlemen. They were walking the street while we were in Old Town Pasadena. And he claimed he's a music producer. And I don't know how he knew these guys can sing, but he made friends with them and invited them later to be picked up in the car. And we drove them also to the Commerce Casino. He didn't want the other two men to sleep in the same room as him, so he wanted me to get a separate room for them.
That's a lie. That never happened.
It's not a lie because I have my witnesses
Mr. Holloway,
here.
Mr. Holloway.
I have my witnesses here. My other driver that picked him up Sunday.
So you dropped him off and somebody else picked him up?
Yes.
Who picked him up?
Richard. He's my co-driver.
Step up, sir. Your last name?
Thompson.
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113. That's all. Step out.
Thank you. I trust Judy. She's got a keen sense of what's going on.
I didn't sign for any room. My name wasn't on the room.
I was driving him for about 4 days. He introduced me to his friends, his family.
If he's driving, I always introduce people. That's just me.
This will never happen again. This is a very good lesson for me.
Geraldine Brady says her daughter and son-in-law, Cassie and Cliff Yelvington, falsely accused her of abusing their daughter. The defendants are countersuing for charges filed by Geraldine.
Miss Brady, this young lady is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your husband.
Yes, sir.
According to your complaint, some time ago, your daughter and her husband had a small baby. That baby was removed from their custody by the state because of abuse, and the baby was placed in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
You had her for approximately a year?
20 months, Your Honor.
And after 20 months, there was a reunification process, and she was ultimately returned to her parents.
Yes, Your Honor.
You now have that child and another child.
Yes, ma'am.
Your complaint is that there came a point where your daughter and son-in-law made some false allegations about you, which required you, because you have a teaching position, to retain an attorney in order to dispute those allegations. And you want them to pay for that attorney and for the emotional distress that you went through from something. Your daughter and her husband say that there came a point when they were concerned over something that their daughter had told them when you were visiting with her, and they had every right to report that. And they are counterclaiming because they say that you have embarked upon a course of trying to interfere with the reunification process by making allegations against the Child Protective Services. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the child originally removed from your custody?
January 13th of 2005.
How old was she?
She was approximately 3 months old.
And what was the nature of the abuse that she suffered at 3 months old?
Some people that we thought were friends, and their youngest daughter was going through and put bite marks on our child.
Over what period of time?
A week or two.
You pled guilty to abuse or neglect?
Neglect.
And you understand that you neglected her?
Yes.
As did you?
I wasn't there. I was at work. I was working out of town for the period that this had happened.
The entire time?
It had happened within a week. I was out of town for the whole week.
Now, when the child was with you, did the parents visit?
Yes, ma'am.
At your house?
Initially, they had supervised visitation at my house, and due to the deteriorating situation, I asked for their visitation to be moved to a visitor center.
Well, that's part of their counterclaim, that if you hadn't forced the visitation to be at a visitation center, they might have been reunified with their child earlier. So I would like you to tell me, Miss Brady, what caused you to report this deteriorating situation?
They were coming over to my house, and I was allowing them wide open visitation. They could come, sit comfortably. I fed them. I permitted them to have any length of visitation they wanted. That was approximately June of 2005. Cliff went into court and claimed that he was paying child support to me, and I had not received any child support from them whatsoever. Also, when they came, they were bringing some people over with them. I didn't mind his family members, immediate family members, like his sisters and Kaylee's little cousins, but they started bringing strangers over.
Who would you bring over to the house?
My cousin.
Why would you do that?
We checked with her first. We told her that we were going to bring over my niece and my cousin, and she
Why
said
would
she
you
didn't
bring
have a problem.
anybody?
Because she would not come over down to Orlando so that my family could see my daughter, and my family wanted to see my daughter because they hadn't seen her since she was born.
Just a minute. What does that have to do with little cousins?
It's not. She was like 13 years old.
So what? This is for you and your wife. Visitation is for you and your wife. How many cousins did you bring to the visitor center?
We didn't take anybody to the visitation center because it was done during the week whenever everybody was working.
Right. So Miss Brady was taking care of business that you should have been taking care of, and if she said to you, don't bring people.
She never told me not to bring people.
Did you tell him not to bring people?
No.
Well, how was he supposed to be a mind reader?
Well, I did object to one person's presence. He was supposedly a friend of Brandy's, his older sister, and I did object to it to Cassie.
And what did she say?
She just shrugged her shoulders and made an excuse.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you got tired of all these people in your house?
Yes.
So you asked that the visitation be at someplace else?
Yes.
Were you going to visitation every weekend with your daughter?
At the center, it wasn't on the weekend. It was only during
At your mother's house?
We were going there about 3-4 days a week.
So that was great.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Yes.
Should have kept it simple.
We didn't know that there was a problem until she sprung it on us at the last minute, saying that there's visitation at the center now instead of at her house.
Okay. Should have been smart enough to figure it out.
If she would have came up to us and said, hey, I have a problem with some of the stuff that's going on, we would have done what we could to correct it.
Mr. Yeldington, you may be right. She probably should have said something to you before she moved it, but that's not a legitimate lawsuit. You should have been smart enough to keep it simple. Go with your wife, sit with your 3-month-old daughter, bond with her, spend as much time with her as you can, and not involve the rest of your family. That's just not smart to do. Could she have told you? Absolutely. Is that a lawsuit? Absolutely not. Now, the child was ultimately reunified when?
September the 15th, 2006.
Tell me what happened after September the 15th.
Well, there was one visit that I went to pick her up at. Josh, my grandson, went to pick her up. I had visitation with her every other weekend. And I noticed there was like a mark on the side of her face. Well, when I got her home, it looked like a full-blown handprint on the left side of her face.
Josh, just stand up, please. Josh, you went to pick the baby up?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any mark on her face?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe it to me.
It was marks on her face, and there was like some bruising right here.
Did you ask her what happened?
No, ma'am.
Did you?
She wasn't that verbal at that time.
Okay, fine. Do you remember what month this
September 2006, towards the end.
So you reported it?
Yes, I did, to the caseworker, and I took pictures.
You have pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Here's the originals.
Very hard to see any mark.
Right.
Oh, I see the bruise in the middle of her lip. That I
Right.
do see.
Yeah. That was on a separate occasion.
And then in October of 2006, I see a large black and blue mark on her forehead.
That's it.
Okay. You did the very wise thing and the right thing to notify the caseworker. You understand that, don't you?
Yes, I'm trying to recall on what these marks were.
Yeah, because we were never notified by the department that there was any marks on her.
Or by my
Well,
mother.
but you do understand that being a responsible person, knowing the history of this child.
Yes, ma'am. But what I'm saying is, if there was a allegation made to the department, I think the department would have, at least done an investigation on it. There was
The
no
department
investigation done.
should have done an investigation on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether they did or not is another story. No question about that. Okay, what happened next, Miss Brady?
In January of 2007, I had picked up Kaylee from their home, and when I was giving her a shower, I noticed what appeared to be like burn marks, like in a circle on her butt. And I did call DCF. The DCF investigator did tell me, take her to the hospital, have her examined by the hospital.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a report from the hospital?
No.
Because you're not the parent.
Right, and I didn't have custody of her at that time.
You have a report from the hospital on this incident?
We do not have it. We gave the copy to our caseworker because we were notified of the allegation. And the moment I was notified, I took my daughter down to the hospital, had her examined, and then also told them to call up the sheriff's department and told them I want to do everything by the book because this allegation is ridiculous.
Did you get a report when Miss Brady took her to the hospital?
Not from the hospital, but I do have the report with the department.
I'd like to read it. Are you trying to toilet train your child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does your daughter have a psychiatric history?
No. After this point, I think she should.
Well, it is clear to me that based upon this, somebody observed marks and thighs that were clearly visible 2 days after your mother-in-law took the child to the hospital.
That right there would be the allegation that Miss Brady put against us
No,
for
no,
my
no,
daughter.
no, my dear.
Because our caseworker...
Kaylee has excoriated red marks on her buttocks and thigh. That's an observation, sir. That is not Miss Brady's observation. That's an observation either by a physician at the emergency room or the caseworker. It says, describes them. They're on her thighs. They're about 2 inches long. The marks on her lower buttocks looks like they may have been from sitting on the toilet for a long period of time.
Which she was not. And the doctors that we took her to and the investigators and everybody told us that they
Don't tell me what anybody told you. Show me a report. This is the only report that I have.
As far as her sitting on the potty for too long, she liked to play on the potty and try to be a big girl, and she would sit there herself. We didn't force her to stay there. And the marks on her thigh were chafing from her diaper because we went for a walk that morning before my mother picked her up.
You also had an excuse for the bite mark she suffered on her body. You claimed that that was not your fault. It is your fault. Whether you did the biting or you permitted this child to be, for over a week's period of time, bitten by another child, that's your fault. And just because a 2-year-old wants to sit on the toilet for a long time doesn't mean that a parent who is exercising parental responsibility allows a child to do that to such an extent that the child has welts on her bottom. Child should not have marks on their thighs from chafing from a diaper if all you have to do is take care of her, which is what the two of you have to do. Take care of her. So far, Miss Brady, you did everything right.
Thank you.
Now, would you please tell me why you were forced to hire a lawyer?
Well, throughout this 20 months, they've made numerous allegations.
Uncross your arms.
Against me, but then they made a very serious allegation against me July 26, 2006. And I think it was in retaliation because things didn't go very well for them in court.
What do you mean things didn't go?
I guess that day, I guess they were expecting to be reunited with their child that day in court, and it didn't come about. And I also was badgering them about the child support that they owed me. And we had left court, I had gone, and then next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the caseworker to take Kaylee to a hospital or a doctor immediately for a sexual exam, because the allegation had come from Cassie or Cliff.
That said what?
That said they felt that the child had been sexually abused while she was in my care.
Really?
And this really was...
What made you think that?
She would shy away from men. She would not go near them. Like if I would go to pick her up, and I mean, whenever I'd walk around, she would run right up to me. And if I'd go to pick her up, she would curl up in a ball and start crying. So what I did is I told my caseworker, this is what's happening. I don't know what to think about it. I just figured I should notify you about it. And where it went from there was that they put in the abuse allegation for...
Against who?
Against her mother.
You're crazy. Something wrong with you. And you're a nasty person, too.
How am I a nasty person?
You're a nasty person because you retaliated against somebody who took on a responsibility that you and your wife couldn't take care of, which is taking care of a 3-month-old child. I assume that Miss Brady, once she raised her own children, didn't plan on nor desire to raise a 3-month-old baby. The reason she had to do that was in order to prevent your 3-month-old daughter from going into a foster care situation. Because the two of you neglected her, minimally neglected her, perhaps abused her. So she lived for 20 months. And instead of kissing her feet, which you should have done.
We tried.
You accused this teacher, this person who cleaned up after your mess, of abuse. That's why you're not a very nice person. Because I have a sense that you rule the roost in your house.
Actually,
that's my sense. My sense is also that your wife could use a little psychiatric intervention. And if you don't see to it that that happens, you now have 2 children?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
It's not going to be the last time that your children are the subject of intervention by the state. So if you rule the roost in your house, and if you're not the one who's abusing your children, I suggest that you get your wife some help. How much did you spend on a lawyer?
$600.
That you pay her back. How much support did you ultimately give her for the time she took care of your daughter?
We came up to a verbal agreement that if she claimed Kaylee on the tax return, we would
You
not
didn't
have to
answer my question.
We didn't
I said
give
how
her
much?
any money because we had a verbal contract that if she claimed her on her tax return, we wouldn't have to pay child support anymore.
The child support wasn't ordered until 2006.
It doesn't have to be ordered. Does it have to be ordered for you to watch your child so that she doesn't get bitten?
We were giving my daughter diapers, clothes, anything that she needed.
Who cares if you give somebody diapers?
Okay, and then she comes out
Who
and tells the
cares
courts,
if you give a baby diapers?
I understand that, ma'am, but then she comes out and tells the courts that she thinks that me saying I'm not going to pay for her bills, not my daughter's, hers, is unfounded because she actually came out and said she wanted this much for this much for this, and this much for this, and one of those being cable, and my 3-month-old daughter wasn't watching cable.
Mr. Yelvington, so instead of doing something, you did nothing. Exclude the cable. You didn't even protect your 3-month-old daughter.
Yes, we did. As soon as...
No, you didn't. Because your wife had to, of necessity, fed, bathed, and changed this baby over a week's period of time. And as soon as she saw the first bite mark on this child, that child should have been removed from the environment. She chose not to do that. And if you were in communication with your wife, and if there's not something wrong with her mentally, she would have told you that the 3-month-old child had been abused by somebody in that house. And if you were any sort of a parent, you would have come off the road and said, I don't care where we're going, we'll go to a shelter in order to protect her. Instead, you allowed this child to be abused over a week's period of time, according to your wife. And instead of kissing her feet, you made her life miserable. That's your mother. 25 years from now, you're not going to know who he is, but she will always be your mother. And you will always be able to count on her to clean up after you, not him. And if you need mental help, get it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, but there is one thing. I was not able to notify my husband of the marks because the people that we were staying with would not allow me to use the phone. And I had no
Crawl out. Abe Lincoln walked 10 miles to school. If your child is being abused, you leave and go to a shelter. What's wrong with you?
Where we lived, there was no shelters nearby.
Go to a police station. Where did you live? In the Yukon? Quiet. You go to a shelter, you go to a police station, you go someplace, or you don't let your daughter out of your sight.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't say anything.
Okay.
You're both working now?
Yes.
Perfect. Your counterclaim for nonsense is dismissed. You're asking for $1,600, which includes infliction of emotional distress, which you've had, and your attorney's fees.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all. Step out.
Thank you.
26-year-old Jamie Martin is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 25-year-old Thomas Say, for a loan to pay his child support. Thomas claims Jamie gave him the money out of kindness.
Miss Martin, according to what I read, you met the defendant on the internet, you started dating him, he needed some money because he was behind in his child support, you made a loan to him for his child support, and he has to pay you back.
Correct.
Mr. Say acknowledges or says that you gave him money to pay off his child support obligation, but that it was a gift and a nice gesture. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you meet him?
In August of last year.
And when did he tell you he had a problem with his child support?
Probably around October.
Had he borrowed money before that?
No, but he was living in my house.
He was?
Yes.
When did he move in?
Probably in September.
Met him in August, moved in September?
Yeah, bad choice.
Bad choice, very bad choice. You work?
I'm a part-time cashier.
What do you do for the rest of the time?
Oh, nothing. I'm trying to go full-time.
How do you support yourself?
With my job.
As a part-time cashier, who pays your rent?
I have a mortgage. I pay myself.
What's your mortgage?
$530.
Do you have any other source of income?
I sold a house in Florida. I still have a little bit of money left from that.
You're living in California?
No, South Carolina.
What prompted you to move from Florida to South Carolina?
My parents moved up there and they gave me some land.
Parents subsidize you?
Meaning?
Give you money?
No.
How much do you make from being a part-time cashier?
$8.
Where did you get the $3,000 from that you loaned to him?
When I sold my house in Florida, I had money in the bank that I was saving.
That you withdrew $3,000 and gave it to me. When was he supposed to pay you back?
It was supposed to be an every month payment, no less than $100.
And when did you stop seeing him?
I kicked him out of the house in November.
Why?
Because he was getting to the point where all he wanted to do was go drinking and not coming home at night, so I decided I didn't want to put up with that.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
How many children do you have, Mr. Say?
1.
How old?
2.
And where does that child live?
With me and my wife. She didn't kick me out. I was separated. And when I went back to my wife, I left her.
Okay.
That's when all this came to
Okay.
the head.
Fine. But she gave you money for child support.
Yes.
Why were you behind in your child support payments?
It was based on income that I wasn't making any longer.
Because you can't hold a job.
Listen, Ms. Martin.
I'm sorry.
They based the money that I was making when the child support was set up was based on about $70,000 to $75,000 a year. I was making about half of that. Every month when I would send money, it fell further and further behind. We were supposed to revisit the issue in November. However, right before the court came, that's when she gave me $3,000. It was a gift.
It's your kid.
Yes, ma'am.
You idiot. It's not hers. If you fall behind in your child support, you pay for it. That's what it is. It's for a parent to pay child support. What's wrong with you? Don't you have any pride at all?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it? Show me. Where is it?
I left it at the house.
Right. I don't think you're adorable, sir. She may have found you marginally attractive when she allowed you to move into her house for some bizarre reason. I have to tell you, whatever it is that you think you have, it eludes me.
I'm sorry,
It eludes
Your Honor.
me, sir.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
It eludes me. You know, there are acts sometimes of sheer desperation that bring people together. You are one of those sheer desperations. When you have an order for child support, you live up to your responsibility, and you do not rely on strangers to take care of it. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why in the world your wife took you back, I have no clue. You have family that's living?
Yes.
They must have prayed very hard for her to take you back.
Must have.
It is not Miss Martin's obligation to support your kid, which is a boy or a girl.
Little girl.
Wonderful. I'm sure you absolutely adore her. Has Miss Martin ever met her?
No, ma'am.
Never even exchanged a meal with her. Why in the world do you think that she'd want to put bread on her table?
She offered it when I went. We were...
Well, he's going to answer me. He's going to answer this question. Rather than just accept his whooping, he is going to actually answer this question. Let me explain something to you, sir. Where do you come from?
South Carolina.
I do not find you adorable. I find nothing about you adorable. I think that you're an irresponsible fool. You owe her $3,000. Pay her. That's all.
Jessica Lager says former friends Brent and Nick Boots vandalized her car by jumping on the hood and...
Thank you, Bert. Miss Lager, these two young men used to be friends of yours, and it is your claim that some time ago they vandalized your car while they were probably drunk, acting like fools. What's your last name?
Boots.
And yours?
Boots.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers?
Yep. Yeah.
You ought to make a movie out of it. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Janelle Foley's.
That would be you?
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm old.
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a four-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Miss Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
And you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, it was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house and... Sorry. We were at her house, like, having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get-together, I could
How many
say.
people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there, and then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka,
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
No! Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, and she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
And didn't see Miss Lager's car?
No.
Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think furry?
To make it look good for themselves.
Nah. They could have just said, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make them stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight, and he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked the mirror off, but it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
Stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
He was always around anyways.
Oh.
Because I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich? You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Can you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's going to give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a
Miss
thief.
Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
part, yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what...
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it. Now, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember, because you were drinking a liter of vodka, what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car in the photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
he didn't, nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her younger son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while they just, you know.
They'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident.
Yeah, her
Two
car was in an
previously.
accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How much
possibly.
did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff
I'll talk
happens
to-
all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the
People-
hood of a car?
No.
Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
Yeah. No, you're erroneous.
no.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and
And the
irrelevant.
car's not even worth that much to begin with.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't.
No. You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll
Listen,
be in
you
the
couldn't
ditch.
walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old Dora Speicher and her mother, Brenda Waters, are suing the father of Dora's children, Leonard Kiwi, for a loan to get his car fixed, the return of belongings, and pain and suffering.
Who's Miss Waters? Miss Spicer, this is your former boyfriend, and you have 2 children with him. Is that right?
Yes.
How long have you been together?
We were together a little over 5 years.
How old are you now?
21.
And how old are you?
24.
So you were 19, you were a baby. You were...
I was 16 when we got together.
And how old are your children?
3 and 16 months.
According to your complaint, things in the relationship went south. You had gone to bartend at a party. Mr. Kiwi came to the party. He didn't like the way you were dressed. He thought you were being flirtatious. You even went so far as to wear makeup. There was an altercation, and you left.
Yes.
Him.
Yes.
Took the children, and you went to your mother's?
Yes.
According to your complaint, he refuses to return your personal property.
Yes.
That's what the case is about. And that personal property, you're talking about your clothing?
Yes.
And your children's clothing?
Yes.
What else?
My daughter's TV and DVD player that my mom bought her for Christmas.
Your daughter, who's 3 years old, got a TV and a DVD player?
Yes.
Get over it. Now, Mr. Kiwi, let's deal with this one thing at a time, sir. Do you have her clothing?
No, I allowed her to come over on an agreement. On December 23rd, they agreed to me that I wouldn't call the police on them, that they could come over and.
What happened to her clothing?
She came and got it with her mother and stepfather.
What
and
about
all
the
of her
children's
stuff.
clothing?
She took some of it, but basically almost all of it, and left me with like a couple pairs of clothes that don't even fit them.
Did you go there with your mother?
Yes, I didn't get all of my clothes. I still had some clothes there, and I didn't take all the kids' clothes. There's still clothes in totes in the garage that fit the girls.
Wait, just a second. He's their father. Who bought the clothes?
He did. My mom did. His mom did. His sister did.
Well, you can't take all the clothing.
I
What is
don't
he
want all
supposed
the
to have?
clothes.
You took some.
Yes.
Good. So, and some he has.
Yes.
Now, your clothing.
Yes. I have a few pairs of jeans over there, some more shirts over there.
You're talking about nonsense. You're talking about little stuff. What are you suing him for? I mean, I don't get it. You were together 5 years. We're not talking about a couple of pairs of jeans, madam.
No, but they're mine. I should be able to get them.
Well, do you have her jeans?
I found one pair of jeans that was in the dirty clothes, and that's
All right,
the only reason she
so
didn't
pack
take
it up and get it over to her.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to your mother. I can't stand to deal with nonsense. You say that you loaned him $1,000 to fix his truck.
Yes.
When?
It was September 12th.
What year? Did she give you $1,000 to fix your truck?
No, she found a gentleman who at a bar who works on vehicles, and at first I was going to sell my Explorer to him, parted it out.
Did
but then
you
he
pay
said,
$1,000 to have your truck fixed?
yes, but
Okay. Now, it is your defense to that
yes.
that you had loaned her $3,000 a year before.
Well, I took out a loan for $3,000 because I was $1,000 behind on rent, so I paid $1,000 on rent, and I gave her $2,000 so their house would not be foreclosed on because they've took out like 4 mortgages on their home.
When did you give her the $2,000?
Before the Explorer was fixed.
Do you have any proof of that?
The only thing that I would have had was be like from my bank that say I paid off the loan, but unfortunately I didn't bring that because it's not paid off yet.
Okay. Tell me how it came about that you gave her the $2,000. Tell me about it.
Dora
you know, I'm
was-
a good judge of what's true
Dora
and what's
was
not.
crying and stuff, and I felt sorry for him because I thought we were family then, but I can see, I guess we're not. And I was just being nice and helping
No,
him
tell
out.
me how she came about. Did she come to you and tell
No.
you she needed the money?
No, she spoke to Dora, and Dora was telling me
Dora,
about it.
look at me. When was it that your
It
mother
was-
fell? Look at me. I didn't finish the question yet. When did your mother fall behind in her mortgage payments?
It was back in 2005, and he did loan her $2,000, but it wasn't from a loan. It was with his 2005 income tax.
I don't care what it was from.
2006.
Your mother said it was 2006.
It was 2006.
So, how much money did you receive from him?
$2,000, and it was paid back in monthly payments of $500 a month, starting with the month of April and ended in the month of August.
Show me.
I gave it to Dora, and they paid their rent with it.
She gave me cash.
This was never brought up about the $2,000. This was prior. We'd borrowed the money from him, and I've only got one mortgage on my house. I don't have 4 mortgages.
Whatever, you have 4 mortgages, you have 1 mortgage. He loaned you $2,000. When?
It was in March.
March of what year?
2006.
And what month did she fix the truck? September of 06.
Yes.
And how much did you pay him back, according to you?
I paid him $500 a month for 4 months, starting in the month of April. It was originally agreed that we were going to start paying in May, the $500, but they were low on money at the time and stuff, so I started paying the money back in April. I paid him back $500 in April, $500 in May, $500 in June, and $500 in July.
Did she pay you back any of the money?
Not all of it.
How much did she pay you back?
I'm not sure. She'd give the money to Dora like she'd say, and then Dora would say that she was paying us, but I didn't see any of the money.
In what month did your mother give you the first payment of $500?
Around the 3rd of April because we didn't have our rent money.
And when did she give you the second payment?
Towards the end of May because we spent it on my daughter's 3rd birthday party.
End of May. And when did she give you the third payment?
Sometime in June, I don't know when. And the last payment, I guess sometime in July. I don't remember the exact date, but she paid us back. And that's why she made the agreement to fix the Explorer for us because we were down on money then.
Tell me how it came about that you paid this $1,000 for him.
My daughter had called me. Scott also has a Ford Escort. It had...
Just tell me, your daughter called you and what?
Their Ford Escort was broke down. Scott did not have transportation to go to work. She was upset because she didn't want him to lose his job because the Escort was broke down. I loaned him some money to help for parts on that, and then I said that I would pay for the Explorer to be fixed so that they would have 2 cars that were running, because at that time Dora was trying to find a job so she could make income also. So I loaned him the money. I have a gentleman that I work where
Listen
I work.
to me. You have no contract with him, your daughter. You know, just because they're no longer together, which is what's happened, just because they're no longer together doesn't mean that you come to court and you claim things that really aren't so. It sounds to me as if he wasn't totally a bad guy. A little controlling, perhaps. You know you're a little controlling, Mr. Kiwi.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like he's a bad guy. He thought you were all family. He gave you $2,000 from his tax returns when you needed it. He didn't even ask to see the return of the money. You say you gave it to your daughter. She did whatever she wanted to do with it. She paid bills, she paid the rent, she did everything. She never showed it to him. And he was the only one working, right? So he was making a family. Just because they're no longer together and things aren't good anymore doesn't mean that you come to court over a pair of jeans that was in the laundry and fixing the truck so that your daughter would have a car and the boyfriend would have a car.
She never got the
now,
car.
do me a favor. Do me a favor. I have other things to do today. You have a counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, your counterclaim says that you don't see your children.
Yes.
That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
That's for a different court, sir.
Okay.
Are you in another court about seeing your children?
Yes.
Do you see your children now?
Every now and then, but it's a very big hassle because they will not take my children to the designated spot because it is not in writing. So since it's not in writing, they make me go to their house, and they know I cannot go over there because they have an ex parte. And when I go over there to see my kids, they call the police. Her mother comes out and stepfather and tries to kick my butt. So I got ex partes against them as well, her mother and stepfather.
What arrangement? Uncross your arms. What arrangements have you made for Mr. Kiwi to see his children? Don't look over there.
We have called him, and my sister calls him at work because I can't speak to him. Calls him at work, tells him to meet my dad up the road at a store called Clyde's. He always makes an account. He doesn't have gas. He can't get to where it is. So my dad drives to Steve's, a gas station that's closer to him, and drops off the girls.
When was the last time he saw the children?
2 weeks ago. He's supposed to get them this weekend.
And before the last visitation, when was the last time he saw the children?
2 weekends before that.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to deal with the courts about that, Mr. Kiwi. You understand that?
Yes.
I suggest that you get whatever you need in writing, get it in writing. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. This case is going to be resolved this way. I want you to go into the laundry, and I want you to get her pair of jeans that she left there, put it in an envelope, and mail it back to her. Do you understand?
Yes.
Other than that, the case is dismissed. Goodbye.
56-year-old Candace Harris is suing her ex-boyfriend, 32-year-old Frank Boswell, for an unpaid loan and for trading in a Camaro that didn't belong to him. Candace claims Frank is a scammer.
Ms. Harris, you met the defendant online. Is that how you met him?
Correct, Your Honor.
And according to what I read, you began a relationship with him, and at some point, according to you, you let him borrow a car that you had that you weren't using.
Correct.
And he had the car for many months. The relationship soured. You went to get the car and found out that Mr. Boswell had forged your name to the title of the car and either sold or traded it in for something else.
That's correct.
You also claim that you loaned him some money before this in 2005, and I'm telling you right now, Ms. Harris, I'm not entertaining that. Because according to what you said in your complaint, you sent him this money with the understanding that when he got back on his feet, he would pay you back.
Correct.
That's what you said. Mr. Boswell is going to tell me he never got back on his feet. That's not a loan. It has to be objective, not subjective. Mr. Boswell will tell some people he's on his feet and tell other people that he's not on his feet. You have children, sir?
Yes, I do.
How many?
One.
That child live with you?
No.
You pay child support?
Yes.
As much as the mother of that child wants?
No.
Right. Because you're not really on your feet. See what I mean? Things are very predictable in this life. I could have written this script before I even asked him a question. Now, when did you let Mr. Boswell borrow your car?
He came to see me on September 29th in 2005. It was at my house for many months being unused.
So you let Mr. Boswell borrow it. What was the arrangement?
The arrangement was that he would use my car. He was trying to get his career started in music, rap business, and it would be a nice car for him to drive with a little bit more prestige maybe than what the vans he had. And we never discussed when I would get it back. However, in March...
After he got on his feet.
Yes. In March, I discovered there was other women involved in his life besides me who were also helping him out financially till he got on his feet.
I could have also told you that.
Yes, ma'am. And it escalated to the point where more and more women started showing up. On June 20th was when he sold the car. I have the documents here that show
Now,
it was...
Mr. Boswell, how much did you sell the car for, sir?
I actually didn't sell the car. I traded the car.
How much did they give you for it?
They just traded me another car straight across.
Really?
Yeah,
But you forged her name to the title.
I did that.
You can't do that, Mr. Boswell.
Why would someone give me a car and give me the title if they loaned it to me?
Who paid for the insurance?
She did.
And whose name was the insurance in?
Isn't it hers?
You got my message? It's her car. If she meant to pass title to you, she would have signed the title over to you, and then you would have insured the car in your name.
Then why,
Now!
Then why did she give me the title in
Are
the
you
first place?
asking me a question, smarty pants?
Yes,
Don't you
I am.
ask me a question, sir. I ask the questions, you give the answers. I want to tell you, you may find a lot of women that find you attractive. I am not one of them.
No. I can dig that.
I'm glad you can. What kind of car do you have now?
1990 Lexus LS400.
How many miles did it have on it when you took it?
276.
276
Yes.
miles? Is that your car?
No,
ma'am.
her car.
My car
her car was a Camaro.
It had 126,000 miles. It was a 95 Camaro.
When I traded it, it had 143,000 miles on it.
What's the blue book value of your car, madam?
It is, Your Honor. It's $4,025.
Is that in good, fair?
That's the medium. It's in the good condition.
Okay. Now, Miss Harris, you seem like an intelligent lady.
I would hope so.
You know the old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck? Did you ever hear that expression?
Yes, ma'am.
If it walks like a deadbeat and looks like a deadbeat, it's a deadbeat. You're supposed to know the difference at your stage in life.
Correct.
Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
Bail bondsman Aaron McAllister says former client Elena Zadevich owes for unpaid bail money.
What were you arrested for, Miss Zadevich?
I was arrested on false charges of domestic violence that my ex filed against me.
I didn't ask you whether they were true or not true. I asked, what were you arrested for?
I was arrested on allegations of domestic violence.
Was it the first time you were arrested?
Yes.
Look at me. Was it the first time you were arrested? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Better. When was the first time you were arrested?
Several years ago.
Having nothing to do with domestic violence?
Has something to do with domestic violence.
So you have 2 arrests for domestic violence?
That's correct.
Was it the same complainant in each case?
Different.
Different. Okay. You are a bail bondsman?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that you received a call from the defendant in jail. You responded. You bailed her out of jail. At her request, she promised to pay for the bond. She did not. You want your money.
Yes.
Defendant says you're a sleazy bail bondsman and she's not paying you.
Correct.
When did you receive the call?
Sometime in the middle of the night from the county jail.
What night? I'm not Karnak. What night would
I'm
you
sorry.
like to tell me it is?
July the 15th.
In the middle of the night. You were home?
Correct. In bed.
How did you get his number?
It was posted on the wall in the county jail.
You have your home number posted in the wall in county jail?
No, ma'am. It's an office number that forwards to my cell phone in the evening and weekends.
I see. I wouldn't think that you'd want your house phone to have a number. Okay. What did the defendant say to you when she called?
That she was in jail and she had to get out. She had to get to work the next morning. If she didn't get out, she would lose her job.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm an executive assistant.
For whom?
For a small media startup.
How long have you had that job?
Close to a year.
10 months?
Something like that.
Where did you work before?
I was managing a medical spa.
Where?
Walnut Creek, California.
Okay. Have any family here?
Just my 2 children.
How old are they?
6 and 2.
They live with you?
Part-time.
Who do they live with the other part of the time?
Well, my son lives with, my daughter part-time lives with her paternal family.
Maternal or paternal?
Paternal.
Paternal. So the father's family, father's parents with her grandparents?
No, his brother and his family, they live very close by, about 10-minute drive from where I live, and she's there a lot because I work full-time.
Okay. So you had to get to work at the media startup company when you called him?
Correct.
Did you tell him that you were going to take care of paying his bail?
What happened was I told him that I didn't have any money.
No. When you called him on the phone from jail, you told him I don't have any money?
Correct.
Is that right?
No.
Of course not.
Right. I wouldn't.
Of course not, because if you tell you, please bail me out of jail, but I don't have any money, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, he's not getting out of his warm bed in the middle of the night. Madam.
Well, he did.
No. He did. The question was, did you tell him that you didn't have any money?
Yes, I did.
He says you didn't, and I'm saying I believe him that at that time you didn't tell him I have no money. Because if he's in business and he gets a call from a stranger, you are a stranger, right?
Correct.
That I want you to get up out of bed, drive over to the jail and bail me out. But by the way, I have no money. He'd say, call somebody else.
That's exactly what I said.
All right. I don't believe you. Go ahead.
We discussed that she had a CD, and the CD was maturing within the next 30 days, and that there would be ample
That you would have money.
Correct. In the CD to pay me out of the proceeds of the CD. And she didn't want to cash it in early because she didn't want to pay the penalty. I agreed to those terms within 30 days that she would use the CD.
Was this on the telephone?
That was on the telephone.
Okay. Because you did ask her the question about money.
Correct.
And when you said, do you have money, what did she say?
I have a CD.
Okay. So, did you tell her how much the bail would be?
Correct. 10%, $5,000.
Because she had $50,000 bail?
Correct.
That's a high bail for domestic violence.
It is.
Do you know why it was so high?
That's per the schedule in that county. That's always $50,000 for a felony charge.
It's a felony?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we get her out. We memorialize our agreement in writing. She
Can I
signs
see it,
a
please?
bail contract and the agreement to pay.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so you signed an agreement to pay him the $5,000.
I had no choice. He made me sign it.
But
Madam,
listen to me very carefully, madam. You have a choice. Your choice is to stay in jail until the matter on which you were arrested for is tried. That's your choice. You chose...
had a different agreement.
No. This is your agreement. This in here is your agreement, in the four corners of this agreement. And what I asked you was, did you sign this agreement? And the answer is either yes or no, not
yes,
I was forced to sign
it. Yes, I did sign that agreement, but aside from that, there was an oral agreement that took place between me and Mr. McAllister.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Once the agreement's signed, I get her out of jail. She says, now what do? I live 30 minutes from here. I agreed to give her a ride. She's worried about getting to work, so I give her a ride. And it's about 30 minutes away. So during that time, she tells me the entire story about the arrest, and I attempt to be understanding that, she was arrested, and I'm sorry, and that's a bad thing, and you're dealing with a breakup, and, how she caught her boyfriend with his new girlfriend laying on the couch that she paid for or she picked out. And the entire time in the car...
Would you look at me when you're telling me this story, Mr. McAllister? Look at me. Don't look down there.
Sorry. The entire time in the car, she says, I'm not a stalker, I'm not a stalker. I go, okay, sorry, you're not a stalker. No problem. Okay, I'll get you to your vehicle. Well, the vehicle's parked 3 blocks away from the house where she was living or where she was arrested. So there's obviously something going on there. Anyway, I get her out. She signs the agreement, and she refuses to pay me.
Just a second. When did she sign the agreement?
Immediately upon release from the county jail.
Okay. And then you drove her to her car.
Correct.
And you dropped her, and she never paid you.
Right. I made
When, for
repeated
the first time, did you contact her with regard to payment?
Well, within 10 days, we sent her an invoice, just a reminder of the payment terms, and sent her 4 or 5 subsequent invoices that went answered with these rambling letters talking about...
Do you have a copy of the letters?
I do.
Can I see them, please?
Those are her letters to me and then my responses.
Based upon our discussion, these are your words, when he initially asked you for your money. Based upon our discussion, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you and your business in lieu of paying you $5,000 for a relatively risk-free, as you put it, bond. I am still awaiting the opportunity to make good on my offer to work for your company. As you were advised at the time the bond was posted, I have not, or do not have now, $5,000 fee that you are demanding. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time of the unsecured bond was posted, I now consider your correspondence demanding $5,000 to be intimidating and threatening. What are you, crazy? Please do not send me any more threatening letters. You knew my financial predicament at the time bail was posted. I still intend to honor my promise to perform professional services for you. You never promised to perform professional services for him. Your own letter says, it was my understanding that we would discuss my opportunity to provide some type of service to you or your business in lieu of paying for the bond. Given the above-mentioned discussions that we had at the time, I now consider your... Discussions aren't a contract, madam.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
because he's not telling you the whole truth. What happened? He bails me out.
Are you just a second? Are you telling me the whole truth? Listen, are you telling me the whole truth?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
About your children's living arrangements? You're telling me the whole truth?
We're not talking about my children right now. I want to tell you.
You mean you're telling the truth?
About what
Listen to
happened.
me. You're telling the truth sometimes, and sometimes you can lie. And when am I supposed to tell the difference? You see, I knew that you were lying to me about your children's living situation. That you're not willing to discuss.
What did I lie about?
Listen to me. My question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're lying, and how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth?
I do tell the truth.
But you just lied to me today.
About what?
You lied about your children's living situation.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
How did I lie?
Oh, yes, you did. And you know you did. You know that they live with me part-time, they live with some part-time, they live here because I work. It's not the story. But that's a story you chose to tell me. Now, you told me that with the same veracity as you told me that you had another contract with him. And my question to you is, how am I supposed to tell when you're telling the truth and when you're lying?
What I'm saying is the truth.
Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, and then I'll tell you what the law is.
Okay. Well, he bails me out. He drives me to my vehicle. On the way to my vehicle, he makes comments about, and he says, well, it would be nice if a pretty woman like you worked for my company doing some sort of marketing and promoting my company, and maybe we can work something out in terms of paying for the bail bond that he posted on my behalf. So when he dropped me off by my vehicle, and before he left, he made me sign the agreement that you saw after we had the conversation of me potentially working for his company.
Did you get what you said to me, madam? You just said to me, maybe you could work for my company. Maybe you could work for my company.
And
that's not an agreement.
No,
that's not. No. After that, nothing. You took that, and I believe that you said that to her. Well, maybe you could work for my company and do something. Maybe you said it to her. Who cares? It's not relevant. There was no contract.
I said I couldn't work for him full time as he proposed.
So he said,
no,
madam.
We can work something out, and you can work for me on weekends.
Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
Yes.
No, I have a
because
letter.
according to what you said to me, after you had that discussion, after, not before. You see, he said you signed this at the jail.
No.
You say I signed it after I had the discussion with him about working with him part-time, weekends, etc. If that was true, that's not contained in this agreement.
No.
And I believe, madam, that you are one smart cookie. And if he had this conversation with you where you made a contract with him, a contract that's enforceable, to work off the bail bond by working for him part-time, you would have put it in this agreement, because you're already out of jail. You see, you're already out. Because you're already bailed out. So then you could either say to him, I'm not signing this. Or you say, it's not the entire agreement that we have. But you didn't. You signed it and said, I promise to pay you $5,000.
Well, he told me right there that if you don't sign it, I'm just going to put you right back to jail. That's what he told me.
I don't believe you. You're making it up as you're going along.
No.
You're making it up as you're going along, because if he said to you, you sign this or I'm going to take you back to jail.
That's what he said.
Your response would have been, well, then put in our agreement that I could work it off, right? Right?
I was very stressed.
Oh, listen, it's not the first time you were arrested. That's why I asked you the question before. It's not the first time. It's probably not the second time that you were arrested. So pay him his money.
Kim and Lon Weishart say Kim's son, Ralph Smith, owes for the balance on a truck he totaled.
Whose son is he?
My son.
Well, we have a son and we have a stepson.
That's my son, his stepson.
How long have the two of you been married?
15 years in September.
And how old are you?
23.
How long have you been together?
16 years.
So you were a little boy, so I can understand when you said he's ours. According to your complaint, you co-signed a car for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How old were you when they co-signed for this car loan?
20.
You don't have to reach in. This modern technology will actually pick up your voice if you stand straight. Now, the agreement that you had with your parents was that you were going to make the payments on the car. Is that right?
For the first year.
I'm going to get back to your year agreement in 1 second, because that sounds sort of interesting. In any event, what happened was he made sporadic payments on the car, and then he totaled the car.
So what actually happened was we co-signed for the truck for him. He was doing very well at that time. They had just had their son, bought a new home, had a good job, and was doing very well. So we co-signed.
He totaled the car, and you're making payments on it, on the loan.
That's correct.
Now, you want him to take over those payments. That's what the case is about, right?
Yes, about paying his truck payments.
Right. They co-signed the car, and you're going to convince me, sir, why I should believe that you only agreed to make the payments for the first year.
Yes, I am.
And I tell you, I am all ears.
Okay, first, my parents flew into Tennessee from Texas, and he asked me, did we want to go out and look at trucks? Because my car seat wouldn't fit in my car, really, for my child, and his golf clubs wouldn't fit in there. So anyway, we go to look at cars, and he's saying he likes this truck and asks me if I like it. And I say, yeah, I like it, you know. And he's telling me how I need a truck for my car seat, for his golf clubs, for when they come into town, they can drive it, and I could drive it while they weren't in town.
Keep going. Come on.
That's it. I paid the first year's payments. I had money saved up from income taxes, and I told him I could make the first year's payment, and he said, don't worry about it, we'll make the rest.
How many vehicles do you have?
2.
One for you and one for?
Them.
One for them?
Yeah, the wrecked one.
Oh, we're not talking about the truck. How many vehicles did you have at the time that you were making the payments?
I had one before the truck, including the truck, too.
And what did you do with the second one?
I sold it so I could put the money down for the truck.
Good. And did you put the money down for the truck?
Yes, I did.
How much?
$1,000.
Were you supposed to keep the insurance on the truck?
Yes, I was.
Did you do that?
No.
Why not?
Because I canceled it about 3 weeks before I had the accident.
Why?
Because I had bought a new house, and I'd rather have my house than my truck, so I can at least sleep in it.
Well, that was ridiculous. You don't drive a car without insurance. What would happen if you hit somebody and really hurt them?
I would be in trouble.
Right. And what do you think's going to happen to you today because you didn't have insurance?
I don't know. I guess that's up to you.
You're right.
So we have pictures of the truck. We also have a copy of the loan agreement and then where we paid the truck payments from our checking, if you would like to see any of those.
I also have some evidence also. They had co-signed for a car, the car that I had sold. That's what I also had told him. That car ran fine. I didn't need another vehicle, but...
You just told me that the car seat for your baby didn't fit in your car.
It did. He said it didn't fit good
No,
enough.
you told me it didn't fit.
It fit. I mean, we had to drive him around for a few months before then, so he had to fit somehow.
Not necessarily.
Well, you think we rode down the road with him in our lap?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Your Honor,
that was casual conversation when we came in to visit into town. We were going somewhere, and he was struggling to get the car seat in the car. And that's when I said, wow, you just need to go get a new vehicle. You know, I recommended getting a truck with an extended cab as well so that it could put the baby seat in and out of the truck easily.
Who did you...
Pile of rocks.
Were you drunk?
No.
Did you fall asleep?
No. It's the first time I had been down this road, and we were going to where we live.
Well, a pile of rocks doesn't move, sir. This is a lot of damage to do on the car.
It was summer, and the trees were sprung out, obviously, and they have a stop sign, ahead sign, and it's only about 3 feet before the stop sign. With the trees bloomed out, you couldn't really see it at nighttime, so I went to stop. And
so whose fault do you think that is?
Mine. I have the car anyway, like I was saying, that I had before. They co-signed for it. I paid every payment on it. I had 1-year lease, and I paid it off in 10 months.
Well, sure. You know why? Because you still have it.
Why would I not pay the truck if...
Because of something that you just told me, sir, which was that you wrecked it. And you wrecked it at a time when you had no insurance on it. And you didn't have insurance on it because you chose to put money into your house rather than pay your car insurance. That's why you didn't pay them. That's the difference. Did I just answer your question?
No.
Well, I think I answered it. You may not like the answer, but I answered it.
That's not why I didn't pay the payments. I did not pay the payments because I was only supposed to pay 1 year, and that's what
No, did you make any payments, sir, after you totaled the truck?
No, I didn't, because my
Did you make payments before you totaled the truck?
Yes, I did. But it was 1 year, and it had just so happened that...
You mean just serendipitously? You wrecked the truck on the first-year anniversary. That was serendipitous.
It was a month after. It was a month after he wrecked it. In your honor, for that month of May, which made it up to a year, he didn't make that payment either. He was having a hard time at home with his family. They weren't getting along too well.
Why weren't you getting along too well with your family?
Because we were pinched for money. That's why I had to cancel my insurance. We wasn't making bills. We were stressed out.
Well, that's unfortunate. Did you buy a house that was too much for you?
No, I did not. I bought a truck that was too much for me for 1 year, I guess, and didn't pay the insurance.
No, because if you were stressed out, then you're stressed out over more than just a truck payment.
Exactly.
Then what you do is say, listen, I have to sell this truck, and I have to buy transportation because we need transportation, but I can't afford this truck. You don't just stop paying. Does your wife work?
Yes, she does.
And you work?
Yes, I do.
How much do you earn?
$390 a week.
And your wife?
She earns $500 a week.
And your mortgage payment?
Zero. $350. We rent now. We sold that house.
Did you make a profit when you sold it?
Yes, I did.
And didn't pay a payment then either.
I bought a new
tax
vehicle.
Check, not a new vehicle,
Well,
$1,400.
Listen, there's no question in my mind that it was very difficult for you to come here to sue him. How much did you have to pay on the truck?
We paid approximately up to $6,000. The first year from May of 05 to 06, we made payments on the truck every month. He had called.
When did he total the truck?
June.
In June of 05.
So where have you been the last 2 years?
Well, it's kind of hard. I mean, you know, you love your children and you want what's best for them and you try to help them. And we had told him a couple times down the road, you know, when we felt like him and Susie were getting their lives together, that, hey, don't worry about paying us what you owe us on the truck. Just start paying the payments now and we'll wipe the slate clean if you start paying the payments. And we've done that a couple of times for him.
4.
And he always says that he'll pay, and then when that month rolls around, he doesn't. So, and it's hard for a parent to take their child.
I don't say that. I never said I'd pay a payment after that year.
Oh, sure you did. It's ridiculous to think
I did not
otherwise.
say that.
Ridiculous to say otherwise. So the total amount of the payments was $13,263. Is that right? And he paid a year's worth.
He paid a year's worth.
And that's
well, just
from
short of
04.
I got right here what I paid.
It was
Where is
actually
the
11
truck?
months.
Where is the truck now? It was totaled?
It's sitting in my sister's driveway.
In her yard.
Her yard.
Where did you get this figure of $3,696 from?
Well, this is why, Your Honor. From May of 05, when we started making the payments, he called us at the end of May and said, look, I'm not going to be able to make May's payment. And we said, all right, we'll help you out. By the time it was ready to make that payment, June had rolled in, and we said, okay, we'll make June for you as well. So there was 2 months, because we know they were struggling a little bit. And shortly after, he wrecked his truck. He totaled it. You know, he told us a few days later that he totaled it and that he had been drinking, so.
I want to know where you get the $3,696. Get there. Well, get there faster.
Okay.
It's $221.05 a month. There were a few months that he said that he was going to make the payment, did not make the payment, so there was late fees and things like that added on to that. So from the time that he wrecked the truck, which was June
of 05.
05.
Yes, ma'am.
It was July 1st.
And it may be in July 1st. The end of June, maybe July 1st. But
Go ahead.
So anyways, from that point on, Your Honor, that's where we came up with the figure from.
Got it.
I have all my paperwork for the payments. I was only supposed to make 1 year's payment. I have them, and I have the paperwork where they co-signed before, and I made every payment and even paid it off.
I believe you made every payment. You also have the car.
I don't have the car. It's sold.
What you gave me here is the payments from your bank to West State Farm Bank. Is that where the truck was financed?
Yes, State Farm.
Very good. Listen, don't co-sign for anybody anymore, even your kid.
Yeah, this is our second time.
Huh?
This is our oldest daughter. got us as well.
They probably made the same deal with her.
There's no deals. It's just trying to help your children.
Don't take advantage of your parents. They seem like very nice people.
I'm not taking advantage
Yeah,
of them.
judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,696. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old Lindsay Allen is suing eBay seller 26-year-old Karen Stevens for selling her a fake Louis Vuitton purse. Karen insists the purse is real.
Miss Allen, you purchased what you believe to be an authentic designer bag on the internet from the defendant. I think you paid $250 for it. When it arrived, it was your belief that it was a fake.
Yes.
And you spent another $35 to have someone examine it. And you are going to be showing me, according to your complaint, that it was determined that the bag was, in fact, a fake.
Yes.
Ms. Stevens says there is no way that the bag was fake, and she's going to prove to me that the bag was authentic. Can I see the bag, please?
Yes.
Why did you want this bag, by the way?
I just have always wanted an authentic Louis Vuitton purse. I did not know that what I was getting was a replica. I do have a real one here to compare.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
The serial number on the authentic one is underneath the pouch.
This pouch?
Yeah, the interior pouch, right underneath it.
Oh, you would never know that unless you looked very carefully.
And there's no serial number on the replica as well. As you can see also, the stitching is uneven. In authentic Louis Vuitton purses, the stitching is usually close to perfect.
There are several things that are different.
Yes.
There is no authentication on the lock, and there is an authentication on the lock on this one. Have you ever examined a real one as compared to this one?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Stevens, what do you do for a living?
I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I sell on eBay.
Where did you get this bag from?
My mom.
Where did she get it from?
A good friend of hers. It was actually a gift.
Well, it's a fake.
I don't believe that it is.
Yeah, it is. Sure it is. Would you send it back to her? She's going to look at several things. First of all, she's going to look at the piping. She's going to look at the serial numbers inside. She's going to look at the lock. First, take a look at the lock on both. Take a look at the lock on the real one. Turn it over. One also has a serial number on the bottom. The one that you sold her does not.
Yes.
Now open up the real one. Open up the flap, and you'll see a serial number underneath the flap. See the serial number?
Yes.
Open up yours. See a serial number?
No, I do not.
Got it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You look like a very nice lady. She wants her money back. When did she call you and tell you that she wanted her money back?
She emailed me the purse saying that it was fake, and I said that I didn't believe that it was. And if she did believe that it was fake, I sent 7 different very detailed pictures to her of the purse that show the stitching. If she had any idea that it wasn't authentic or thought that it wasn't, I sent extra pictures.
Listen to me. You sent her the pictures for her to try to prove that it was a real purse.
Exactly.
But it's not.
But why did she not argue that if she thought that it was? Because I'm not a cheater or a stealer.
Now, I understand that, but she wanted her money back. And if you had said, listen, if you're dissatisfied with the purse, I'll give you your money back, we wouldn't be here today. But in order for her to prove to you that it was fake, she took it to somebody to authenticate it. Do you have the report? Can I see it, please?
Yes.
You want to sell things? That's what happens. I mean, if you don't know that something is authentic and you advertise it as a Louis Vuitton bag, you're advertising it as an authentic Louis Vuitton bag. Yes. Turns out that it is not an authentic Louis Vuitton bag. I can see that. I've shown you some examples of where you can look and see it. I don't think you're a dishonest lady. I think you thought perhaps she was mistaken. Maybe you thought she was trying to scam you and would send you back a different bag, which is what you say in your answer. In the meantime, the big bag goes back to the plaintiff. The little bag stays with the defendant, and she gets her money back, plus the cost of the expert, $285. Thank you very much. You're two nice ladies.
Excuse me, step out.
Shelby Crowther is suing her neighbor, 24-year-old Cody Moore, for vet bills. Shelby says Cody's 6-year-old son, Caden, threw her dog in the air and broke his leg.
According to your complaint, Miss Moore's little boy, this 6-year-old, was in your backyard where your dog was playing. He was invited over by your son, who is a couple of years older. How old are you?
8.
Stand up next to your mother. I have a few questions for you. Tell me your name.
My name's Cody.
Cody, do you know this little boy's name?
No.
What's your name?
Caden Moore. He does know my name.
Caden Moore?
Yeah, when we were at daycare.
Caden.
Okay. Is he your neighbor?
Yes.
Remember that day when your dog got injured?
Say yes.
You
Yes.
remember? You have to answer my questions. Were you playing in the backyard?
Yes.
Did you invite him to come over in your backyard? Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes, but I put it through the fence.
Did you offer him a lollipop?
Yes.
And did he take the lollipop?
Yes.
Did he come around in your backyard?
No.
He was never in your backyard?
Yes, but
How did he get there?
climbed the fence.
And what happened when he got there?
We started playing for a little, then he picked him up and threw him up in the air and broke his leg.
What did you say to him when he did that?
Nothing.
What did you do?
I picked up Gizmo.
And where did he go?
My mom told him to go back home.
And he did. And you took your dog Gizmo to the doctor?
Correct.
And he had a broken leg?
Right.
And you want Miss Moore to pay for the vet bills?
Correct.
I'm listening.
I did not become aware of the situation until she had come over to my house to let me know what was going on. I talked to my son, and he said that her son told him that if he'd climb the fence, that he would give him a sucker and they could play.
So he's over in the backyard?
Mm-hmm. And my son did say that he picked up the dog, that her son asked him to put the dog down, and my son did that. However, he did not throw her dog at
Well, how do
all.
you think the leg got broken?
I believe that he did drop her dog. A dog that weighs 4 pounds has a leg like a toothpick, so I'm sure it did break. That's, I believe that.
So either way, whether he dropped him or threw him.
I offered to pay the bills. I gave her my cell phone number. I asked her to please call me when the dog was done so that I knew what was going on. She's my new neighbor. I just moved in.
So what was the problem?
The problem started when she tried to press criminal charges on my child.
No,
And
what
that's actually
happened?
in the police report that I have with me. She had told the police a completely fabricated story. The police
Well,
came...
what did you do after the dog? You took the dog to the vet.
After I picked the dog up, went in the house, and immediately went over to her house. My husband held the dog for me. I went over to her house and explained to her what had happened. She told me that's not possible. Her son was in his bedroom, and that is not true. He was just in my backyard, and I told him to go home.
Okay, well, maybe she didn't know that.
We went into the backyard. He wasn't in there, so he was in the garage. And she asked him, and he said yes, he did pick the dog up and drop the dog.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, you're going to be responsible for these vet bills. I said, I don't have the money. She looked at me and said, well, I'm a single mom, so maybe it's best to put the dog to sleep and I will buy you a new one. I immediately looked at her and said, that's not how this works. This is my dog. I mean, he's my baby. We're not going to put him to sleep.
Did you go over there, Miss Crowther, angry?
No, I did not raise my voice at her.
You don't have to raise your voice.
I was upset. I was bawling.
Okay.
I was upset.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine that you were upset, and I can imagine that you were not calm when you spoke to her. You may not have been screaming at her. You may not have been cursing at her. I don't know. But I assume, based upon just the way you phrased it to me today, that you did not go over there in a neighborly-like way.
Right.
Well, that was wrong. This is not something that's done maliciously.
Right.
So then you should have taken it down a notch. Right?
Right.
You owe her an apology.
I'm sorry if I upset you.
You should have taken it down a notch. She didn't do anything.
Right. I didn't become enraged until she told me to put my
just
dog
a second.
to sleep.
Enraged is a relative term. If you went over there and said, gee, that was just a real bad accident, I think that your little boy was responsible for my dog's broken leg. Right. You know, I'm going to take the dog to the vet. You know, we're going to be able to handle this. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is to go over there with screaming mimis on, you know, because your dog is injured. I got it. But I think, at least with her, you overreacted. She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
Well, the problem is...
She said she'd pay the vet bill. What's the vet bill?
$364.25.
That's a hefty bill for her to pay, but if she said she would pay it, it's her responsibility, and she's going to take care of it. Did you call the police?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was informed that I had to have a police case number in order to file a civil claim in court.
Well, I don't know who's giving you legal advice. Certainly not any reputable person I know. You don't need a police report in order to file a small claims case.
I don't understand if I said I would pay it, why she would have to file a small claims Okay, Sam,
I have no idea. I have no idea.
She was only going to pay the initial bill. She told me she would not pay to have the cast removed. She flat told me, I'm only going to pay the $299. And I says, what about the remaining cost? She told me, too bad, I've talked to an attorney and you're not getting any more than that.
Actually, she told me she wanted to take her dog to the vet weekly for the next 6 months, and she wanted me to pay for that.
The vet required that he come in every week to have the cast looked at so that it didn't get infected or anything happen.
The whole bill was $364.25. Judgment for the plaintiff, $364.25. When you have a new neighbor, you try to handle things reasonably. She seems like a nice lady. Now you're at odds with each other and you share a backyard. That's terrible. And you have two kids who probably play very nicely together. You know, they're two nice little boys. See if you can go have a cup of coffee together. It would probably be a very good idea. You're going to live there for a long time?
Plan to.
All right, so you got off to a bad start. See if you can make it better.
Okay.
You'll be happier. That's all.
Thank you.
Rick Strand claims ex-wife Marilyn Johnson owes for back child support that she agreed to forgive. Rick says the state is coming after him for the money.
Mr. Strand, is this your ex-wife?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And you have one child together?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your claim is that after you divorced, you were paying child support, not always consistently.
Yes.
And there came a time that your former wife remarried, and she approached you with the idea of asking you to relinquish your parental rights, allowing her husband to adopt your child, a girl, in exchange for forgiving the arrears that you owed her in child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
You thought about that and decided that that would be a good idea.
After a period of time, yes, Your Honor.
And did, in fact, go to court and relinquish your parental rights.
I didn't go to court. I just went to the lawyer and signed off on the papers.
When did you do that?
I believe it was approximately June of 2005.
So your parental rights were terminated?
Yes, after the adoption was finalized.
Your claim is the state is now coming against you for the $3,800 that you owed in back child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say that they're doing that despite the fact that you had an agreement with Miss Johnson.
Yes.
So you want the $3,800 because lots of bad things have happened to you. Like what, sir?
I've lost my driver's license and my source of income. I'm unable to find work right now.
What kind of work did you do?
I'm a truck driver by trade.
Ms. Johnson says you never had a contract with her.
Correct.
When was this arrearage accumulated?
It started occurring when we separated before the divorce, on and off, when I'd get laid off in the wintertime and was unable to make payments through my unemployment until I got back to work and started paying again.
How many children did you have?
I have one with him.
And how many others?
2 others.
How old are they?
They are now 22 and 20.
So this was the only minor child?
Correct.
And what kind of work were you doing when you separated?
I was working, I'm not certain, ma'am.
Were you ever receiving any sort of public assistance?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
When?
When we separated in 95.
And how long were you receiving welfare?
Till September of 96, I believe. I'm not certain.
Subsequent to 1996, and you say you're not certain, so it could have been longer.
Or shorter.
Or shorter. Subsequent to that, were you ever receiving any sort of public assistance again?
Yes.
When?
I don't recall the date, but I was receiving daycare assistance when I was working.
And how much child support were you paying, Mr. Strand, when you were paying it?
It started out at $200 a month, and through cost of living increases, it had gone up every 2 years. The last time that it got increased, it went up to $404 every month.
Now, were you aware of the fact that your wife at that time and your daughter were receiving welfare?
I was aware of the fact that they were getting daycare assistance, yes.
Well, at some point she was getting welfare, and at some point she was getting daycare assistance, which is also another form of public assistance. And was it at that time that you were paying $200 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you always paying the $200 a month, or was that during the period of time when you were laid off, seasonally?
I always paid it when I was working, and when I would get laid off or when I was in between jobs, I wasn't paying it. But when I did get back to work, I always made a point to either contact the county or my ex-wife or both right away to let them know where I was working so that it could continue to be collected.
You understand, Mr. Strand, that this is your problem. Even if I believe that you had an agreement with your former wife that she would forgive the arrearages, she can't bind the state with regard to the arrearages. And if this $3,800 bill accumulated at a time when your daughter was receiving any sort of assistance, whether it be daycare or regular public assistance, she can't forgive that money.
Your Honor, there was a separate amount that was owed to the state and an amount that was owed to my ex-wife as the custodial parent. The part that was owed to the state has already been taken care of a long time ago.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
That was taken care of when I filed bankruptcy last October. It was a sum of $1,100, and I was able to put that onto my bankruptcy. So the $3,800...
So the state's never been paid?
No, the state was paid while I was paying child support. So much would go to my ex-wife, and so much would go towards what was owed to the state.
I thought you said that money was discharged in bankruptcy.
Not all of it, just what was owed at the time that I filed my bankruptcy. Yes.
So the state did not get their $1,100. You had it discharged in bankruptcy.
Yes.
Why didn't you add this money?
Because you're not allowed in the state of Minnesota to discharge
child support
until it gets turned over to your ex-wife or to collections as a debt owed.
Now, why, Miss Johnson, do you think that your former husband agreed to terminate his parental rights?
Your Honor, I believe that he looked at her as a dollar sign, and he was never keeping employment nor paying his bills, and he just felt that this was an easy way to get out of his obligation.
Well, you asked him to do that.
I suggested it, yes.
No, you asked him to do that. You approached him. He wouldn't think about that. You approached him. And what did you say when you approached him?
I just said that you are not being a very good father. My husband is willing to adopt our daughter. If you sign over your rights, I will consider it.
Consider what?
That I could sign off if it was...
If it was what?
If I was able to.
If you were able to what?
Sign it off.
Sign what off?
The back child support.
Well, why can't you? If the state's been paid, you can sign off the back child support.
Because I don't choose to.
But you made an agreement to do that, madam.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did. I don't believe that under those circumstances he would have gone to your lawyer. By the way, who paid his lawyer?
I don't know, ma'am.
I didn't have a lawyer, Your Honor.
Whose lawyer did you go to?
Mine.
I went to her lawyer to sign.
Oh, so you went to her lawyer?
Yes.
Made an appointment for him to go to see your lawyer?
He made an appointment, yes.
Who you paid?
Yes.
Miss Johnson, I don't believe you. And I have to make a judgment. You want to try to convince me that you didn't make an agreement with him and not give me this answer I choose not to? Come on.
He was just not paying his child support, Your Honor.
So you said to him, I'll forgive your child support if you sign over your parental rights.
No, I did not. I said my husband has an interest in being my daughter's father, and if you would sign off, he says, could we then forgive that child support? And I said, we'll talk about it. But
no, I don't believe that. That's a lie. That's a lie. So, the two of you signed an agreement when you came here. It was a binding arbitration. Is that correct?
Yes.
I will draft an order to the state. What state?
State of Minnesota.
That I have determined after a hearing that you agreed to vacate any child support arrears that were owing to you in exchange for his agreement to terminate his parental rights and allow your husband to adopt the child. That is my finding. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Alan Winter says ex-boyfriend Rolando Conejo owes for a truck loan and for assaulting him during a dinner party.
Mr. Winters, you and the defendant were in a relationship for a couple of years, according to what I've read, lived together, and then the relationship ended, unfortunately, unamicably. It is your claim that you loaned the defendant some money to buy a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And then it is your claim that he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that he paid for the truck through services.
Correct.
Took care of your home, took care of things for the 2 years that you lived together. Also paid money towards your mortgage every month that should be counted towards the truck debt. And this truck debt came about as a result of a loan that he had with someone else that he had been involved with. And when the two of you became involved, you said you don't want any strings attached, so you paid off the truck loan to the other person, thereby making him only beholden to you for this debt.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, when I met Alan, he offered, and that was his idea. He said, Rolando, I can help you with this. As long as you take care of the chihuahuas, help me remodeling the house, because...
Just a second. How much did you pay for the truck?
I paid $7,538 for the truck.
And how much did the defendant pay you back?
He, on June 1st, he gave me a check for $3,000.
What was the $3,000 for, sir?
For the truck.
Fine. Leaving a balance of $4,538. Because if he told you to take care of the chihuahuas in exchange for the truck, you wouldn't have given him $3,000, right?
Right.
It's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel.
I was thinking that's a lot of chihuahuas.
Your Honor.
What?
He also said if you help me to remodel the house, that would contribute towards the loan. So in my mind, I always understood that, okay, I'm going to take care of the Chihuahuas. I'm going to help in remodeling the house.
Just a minute. Forget the Chihuahuas. What did you do to remodel the house?
We demolished the back of the house. That was hours of labor. And I also helped him to title a new bathroom and kitchen.
How many hours of labor did you put in the back?
Well, throughout the 2 years, I would say more than 100 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, originally, there were 2 loans. And last Tuesday, we went to small claims court in Utah, and he was given financial credit for the work that he did on my house.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. And I have evidence to prove that.
Okay, so that was one loan, but you've already resolved the issue, therefore,
Yes, ma'am.
with regard to any work that he may have done to pay down a loan.
Yes, ma'am.
So why are you bringing it up again? You only get credit for the work once, sir.
I don't know. He's the one that is doing all this right now. And we had a fight the last time, and...
You can only bring up the work once. Now, you want to go into this assault, sir?
Yes, ma'am. On December 1st, 2006, I was having friends over for dinner. I was having Mike and another friend over for dinner. Mike is my witness.
Mr. Winters, this assault happened December 1st, 2006.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you and the defendant separate?
In July of 2006.
Your Honor.
In July, shh, put your hand down, you'll have a chance. So this assault allegedly happened after you separated?
Yes, ma'am. We remained friends.
Fine. December 1st, 2006. I'll hear you.
Okay. He dropped the dogs off because he provided dog care for me. But the Chihuahuas were owned by both of us. So he came over at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, dropped the dogs off, went up to a job interview, came back to my house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were talking, and I asked him if he was drunk. And he said, no, I'm tired. I haven't been drinking. I knew that he had been drinking, so we went to get groceries because he was cooking Costa Rican dinner for our guests. And on the way to the grocery store, I told him, I said, Rolando, I know you're drunk, and I know you lied to me about it. You don't need to lie to me about being drunk. I knew he was going through a hard time or whatever. So when we got back to the house, it escalated into an argument, and he started to approach me. And the police had already been involved once before. And so I put up my hand and I stopped him. I said, don't come near me. If you come any closer to me, I'm going to call the police. You know that you'll be arrested immediately. So he didn't. And then I said, I want you to leave my house. You're not to stay here for dinner. I don't want this argument to happen in front of friends. And he refused to leave. So he sat on my couch for hours. He said nothing. So I sat on a chair opposite him. And I was reading or whatever. And all of a sudden, he just pops up. And he's very animated. And he said, okay, we need to cook dinner. This was a few hours later. So he starts cooking dinner, and I go in the kitchen, and I'm chopping things up for him. And I told him, I said, you have to promise me that you will not drink anymore tonight, and that you will not argue with me or bring up an argument while my friends are here. And he promised. So Mike and my other friend came to the house, and Rolando was very animated. He was a very gracious host. His dinner was delicious, and we had a really nice dinner. Well, after dinner, we were playing a game called Shut the Box, and it requires each player to have 10 $1 bills. I knew Rolando did not have that money, so I offered to give him 10 $1 bills early, and that's one thing that caused an argument earlier because of the money issue. So we were in the front room, and he would come in and out, and he was very pensive, and he would sit and watch us, and then he would disappear. The game becomes very rambunctious. We were screaming and yelling. And
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life. Please play in moderation, take frequent breaks, and play responsibly.
Don't give up. Your teammates can still recall you.